Greetings, weary travelers. The game known as Dungeons & Dragons has come a long way from its early reputation for turning basement-dwelling dorks into devil worshippers. But you might be surprised to learn that a growing body of research suggests that this game can actually help improve players' mental health. Today we're going to unpack why some scientists are obsessed with D&D. But before we get into why this game might be so good for your brain, we're going to talk about why it's so hot right now. Last April, I spent a harrowing hour of my life trying to secure tickets to a show at Madison Square Garden, which is pretty typical these days, but I wasn't trying to see Beyonce or Taylor Swift. I was, in fact, competing with tens of thousands of people to go watch other people play Dungeons & Dragons.
Welcome to another thrilling episode of Dimension 20!
No, I did not think that would happen. I did not think that I would be DMing at Madison Square Garden. How could you imagine of the gall 10 years ago? I'm walking past Madison Square Garden to hit up another frozen yogurt shop for free samples because I can't afford lunch. I'm like, one day, baby, I'll be in there playing D&D. You count on it. Bet on that. No, I would never have anticipated.
Brennan Lee Mulligan, who some of my fellow nerds might recognize a little bit, is a professional dungeon master, or DM. That means his job is to facilitate the playing of D&D. Brennan has made a name for himself through his work in actual play, which is an entertainment genre, mostly podcasts, but also some streaming shows like Dimension 20, which he created for Dropout TV, where people actually play Dungeons & Dragons, and other people just take it in. That might sound bizarre if you're not super familiar with D&D, so I asked Brennan to give us a crash course on the game.
Players gather around a table, either virtually or in person, and play the role of heroic adventurers, being led through a series of stories and adventures and encounters by a dungeon master who is running all of the non-player characters, the monsters and allies and enemies that they might meet in their adventures. So it is a way of collaboratively telling a story while also engaging in a game of tactics and strategy and magic and puzzles and problem solving.
D&D is just one of many tabletop role-playing games, by the way, but it's definitely the most popular. According to Polygon, actual play as we know it first started to crop up on YouTube and Twitch in the early 2010s. But D&D lovers agree that it took off in a big way, like an MSG selling out kind of way, during the COVID lockdowns.
What I think the breakthrough or the innovation of actual play is it says, here is a high octane, epic fantasy genre fiction story like the ones you grew up loving that is going to be profound and it's going to say things and you will fall in love with these characters. You will set dress it yourself in your own imagination. You will be able to get lost like you did when you were reading under a tree as a kid. And it is also going to have this other show, which is a reality show about a group of friends who genuinely love playing together. Imagine being like a groundling at the Globe Theater, and the first time Juliet dies, the other actors on stage go, "Oh, we didn't know that was gonna happen!" Like that idea of that other level, which is this reality show. I think that moment during lockdown, when a lot of people wanted storytelling, but also wanted to feel like they had people on their side, didn't want to feel alone. That to me is the innovation of actual play.
Actually playing D&D became really popular during the pandemic too. There were already a bunch of digital tools that help people play the game remotely, and it was a great way to socialize and add routine back into your day during lockdown. That got a few tabletop-loving scientists wondering if they could bring their favorite pastime into their research.
I was interested in the mental health aspect of playing D&D and how playing impacted players' lives outside of the game as well as while they were playing.
Orla Walsh published a study on D&D in 2024. She interviewed 10 players from the UK, Ireland, and the US, and they all said that D&D had a positive impact on their mental health. She also noticed a trend of players using their D&D characters to explore aspects of their personal identities in real life. One of her interviewees said that D&D helped them come out to their friends while they were playing.
They made a character who was coming out and use that to explore how it would feel to have people react to you coming out, and was able to do that and afterwards say to their friends, hey, that was actually real for me. That was actually me coming out. And they found that that really just gave them the tool to do it.
Another one of her players had just started a new job where she was the only woman, and she felt her confidence was starting to wane. So she created this super confident, super assertive character, and whenever she was having trouble at work, she would ask herself what her character would do.
So they used role-playing as a tool for practicing skills or navigating real-world problems. And for me, that was the standout thing that was maybe unique to role-playing or fantasy role-playing.
The world of D&D science is still really small, but it's absolutely surged since the pandemic. Alicia Merrick published a tabletop study of her own in 2024. Her team recruited 25 community members to play 8-week campaigns. For reference, a campaign is basically a series of connected storylines in an arc that characters go through together. So every session is basically like an episode of TV.
While they were completing this sort of mini campaign, they were filling out surveys that looked at their mental health. And by about the 8-week mark, so when they finished the whole intervention, we saw improvements in all of the scales that we were looking at. So they were seeing less symptoms of depression, anxiety, and stress, and then also seeing improvements in their own self-esteem and self-efficacy.
A month later, scores from participants that followed up were still generally above baseline, though the researchers say they saw the best improvements during the campaign itself. Other recent studies have suggested that TTRPG players are more empathetic than most, and that playing these games can help build group cohesion and improve communication skills. Scientists have also found that playing these games can enhance players' critical thinking skills and help them explore aspects of their personal identity, like gender and sexuality. I've always been impressed with Brennan's ability to pull really deep emotional issues and conversation topics into his campaigns. So I asked him to tell us a little bit more about that aspect of the game.
I will find creative fuel in building a character around something that I am struggling with or thinking about, or an interesting ethical problem. I played a character called Evan Kelp in a game who was a cursed, haunted wizard who wanted to be heroic. And that struggle between, here's what my innate gifts are like. They are pretty bleak and haunting. Here's what my inner desire is. It is a desire for warmth and closeness, connection and belonging. And the parts of that feel real to me in terms of my own life and being like, I so desperately want to be social and be a part of things and be useful and helpful and constructive. And at times, I don't always feel like I belong. And that is a contradiction. And how do you navigate that without necessarily going out on a limb and being like, this game will heal you, guaranteed. I think that really what it comes down to is storytelling obviously serves a profound psychological, cultural need. And I say this as, let me be very clear, a philosophy-flavored comedian. Like I am not an academic or a doctor by any means, but I'll speak to my own personal experience, which is that, these games were transformative to my life and my mental health, right?
So what is it about D&D specifically that might make it so good for us mentally and emotionally? Alicia and Orla are part of a growing group of researchers who are trying to figure that out. Alicia's PhD research involves a randomized control trial designed to get into the nitty-gritty of D&D's benefits. And Orla is digging into which aspects of gameplay seem to be most important in helping players' mental health. But the two of them do have some instincts about what's going on here.
And I've spoken with other colleagues, and we're all sort of looking at two major theories, looking at self-determination theory, so the idea that we need to be related to others, you need to have autonomy and freedom in your actions, and you need to feel competent in what you're doing. And then the other one is flow theory, so where you're so, focused on the activity that you're doing that you just forget everything that's happening in the real world. For some people, it is really more beneficial just to take that time away and ingrain yourself in that character's mentality and fight whatever they're going to be fighting.
Or maybe D&D just brings together all the benefits of different kinds of hobbies in one place.
One of the people that I interviewed had a really nice description of what it is about D&D that he finds so amazing. He described it as a bee going around to lots of different flowers getting pieces of pollen. You could have a bunch of different hobbies that you can get different things from. So you could get creative expression from one place, you could get social support from another place. But D&D, as the player described it, was going straight to the honeypot.
While there's still plenty of research to do, therapists are already trying to harness the potential benefits of D&D for their patients. Donnie runs therapeutic campaigns for a few different types of patients. So-called therapeutic DMs run campaigns designed to help their patients build confidence in their social skills, deal with symptoms of anxiety and PTSD, and more. As for how therapeutic D&D actually works, Donnie says it's really just another modality of group therapy.
So the structure of it is we have like an hour of gameplay, and then we have like an hour, 45 minutes to an hour of debrief processing.
Donnie says the game can help people get more comfortable engaging with conflict and other unpleasant circumstances we might face in the real world. For instance, rolling an @1, which, if you don't know, is an absolute disaster, can send the game in an unexpected direction. But things can still ultimately work out.
I've heard people really explore things in ways that they never thought they would be able to do. Even, like, for example, something that comes up a lot is being able to explore conflict within, like, family dynamics, right? Like, being able to create a character that is very reminiscent to your real life, and then doing something that you've always wanted to do. Then the debrief is like, okay, how did that feel? I mean, we do tons of play therapy with children, right? Like, we're just the same children that we were back then, you know, we need that imagination and that play.
Donnie says colleagues outside of the tabletop realm have expressed a lot of interest about their work using D&D. And given the boom in interest and research, it seems likely that tabletop gaming in clinical settings is only going to get more common. If you want to check out D&D therapy for yourself, you can search provider platforms like Psychology Today for group therapy sessions that involve tabletop gaming. But you don't need a clinician's help to just enjoy D&D. D&D can be whatever game you need it to be.
What tabletop lends itself to is telling the exact story that you and your friends need. You're going to get the storytelling that your soul needs, and you're going to get the camaraderie that your heart needs. And we can do that both here.
So call up a few of your favorite people, get some good snacks, and dive right into a campaign of your own. It might be just what the doctor ordered.